You've did well to reach our page so far. Make sure you follow, share, subscribe, and like. We are proud to announce that we've partnered with Core Assist Disability Services. If you or anyone has a disability, you can follow and contact Core Assist, and they will go above and beyond to help you all over Australia. We've also partnered with Imperial Glass and Timber for all your timber needs. This panel, Imperial. We love Imperial. From bespoke joinery to standard joinery, they have it all. You talk about design meets culture or meets hospitality. Branding meets hospitality. We look no further to Sabrine.
Thank you for having me, Mustafa.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for accepting the invite to come on the Chronicles of Faith. Subhanallah, we actually held one of our first pop-up pods was at the Avenue. And we meet the Avenue here today.
Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure, first and foremost. I'm a big fan of your work.
Allah barik fiki.
Which I'm sure you know because you see me liking your posts.
Thank you so much.
But I feel with that, like you've brought something to the community that not many have done. You've put yourself out there and you've helped navigate today's topics and help the community in a way where I don't think you've even realized you've touched hearts throughout people's stories, which is beautiful to have.
It's very humbling to hear that from you. And you have been yourself and your family one of the early supporters from day dot of the Chronicles of Faith by allowing us to actually go to your restaurant after hours and set up. And we actually felt at home when we did that podcast. And it showed us that, you know what, as hard as a pop-up pod can be, we can get it done. So I look forward to doing pop-up 2 at the Avenue. Barakallahu fiki. Look, the aim of the Chronicles of Faith was to raise awareness of many topics from faith to culture to lifestyle. But one thing I thought that, you know, you'd be able to bring to the viewers is the journey of women in faith in Islam and business and lifestyle, culture. And, you know, I know as a male, it's hard to navigate through society and find yourself. But I can't relate to a female's journey in doing so.
Very good question. Very, very good question, I have to say. I think we live in a time and an era now where it's a little bit hard for women especially because there's a lot of tasks that women do throughout the day and they don't get that much credit, I have to say, with their tasks that they withhold every single day. In saying that, a woman transitions in her life a lot compared to a man. So with a man, I find that his body stays the same unless he gains weight or unless he wants to lose weight. He doesn't have expectations like a woman. And, you know, the comparison is obviously like the obvious. But if you want to look from a woman's perspective, a woman goes through multiple phases in her life. She starts off as a young girl. She transitions from her parents' house and she's learning an education in her parents' house, which is contributed by her mum and her dad. And you've got scenarios where parents aren't living in the house. So they're either, you know, coming from a divorced household and trying to navigate their life. And you've got women that, subhanAllah, don't have faith in their household as well.
Wow.
So that's kind of a general rundown of what you can touch on women of, you know, when they're growing up. Then you've got outside influence as well. You've got young girls that want to befriend people that are cool, for example. And then if you don't have a switched on brain where you kind of know what you want in life, you really get dragged. In saying that, if you've got the kind of attitude that I know what I want in life, I'm going to go for it, you'll kind of slightly fall into a place where you've got this identity in your mind, who that version is. So when you transition into life and you go through, you know, that stage, and when you come to get married as well, which most women do go through that stage, which is generally within their 20s, 30s now, that era in itself is a big, I'd say, learning curve. For women in that stage, you're basically going from your parents' house to your husband's house. And there's a lot of rights that the man has, which subhanAllah, when you learn about them in a religious aspect, those rights are a lot to kind of put you in check as a woman, but also help navigate your life in the good direction that you should be on, because our religion is great, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
You touched on a lot of key points there, and it's certainly not easy for a young woman who's been at home and adopted certain lifestyles or morals and ethics or principles within that household, then maybe takes on a career, education, or works in the field of business or different types of businesses, then maybe suddenly gets married. If she were to get married in her 20s, then all of a sudden, two different personalities, two different lifestyles in the same household. And then you actually said that the woman is governed in a sense to follow what the religion ordains on her, which is the rights of her husband. Same for the husband, with the rights of the woman.
Yeah.
But these days, you find the divorce rates through the roof.
Yeah.
And you can almost count, it's as if 1 in 4 women are getting divorced. And that's a random stat that I'm putting out there. But so many men and women are getting divorced.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I feel like it's an epidemic within our society. Now, there's so many contributing factors, maybe rushing into marriage, thinking that the person that you're with initially is the right person.
Yeah.
The first person's the right person, for example.
Yeah.
Many, many factors. But how does a woman equip herself from the lifespan that you spoke about, from her teenage years through to her 20s, in trying to educate herself to make the right choices? 2 words that'll change the way you deal with pain forever. Physio, motion, where Mo really puts you back into motion. You've heard about the infamous knee reconstruction that I've had, the chronic back pain that I've had, and one man helped me go back into motion. Not just that, helped me go back to playing sport when I thought I needed surgery. His name? Physio Motion. Contact him now and mention Chronicles of Faith podcast, and he will ensure that he gives you a tailored program that suits your needs. Don't feel like you're alone with the rehab, whether it's post-surgery, pre-surgery, back pain, lower leg pain, any type of muscle pain. Physio Motion will get you back into motion.
Wow, your questions are very good today. That one is a really good question, and I feel it's very important for women to understand that aspect, because in that stage, generally you're finding yourself. You're usually at a stage of your life where, you're forming this growth factor as a woman, where you're transitioning into an actual version of yourself that you want to be kind of proud of. So during that stage, if you've got the environment, and this is a key point that I'm going to bring out, the environment plays a massive role, because if you're in an environment that's surrounded by toxic people, whether it's family members, friends, outside influence, if you're studying at a place that isn't good for you, if you're going to the wrong places, that's going to impact you as a person. How? Because if you're not strong enough with education and with knowledge, you're generally going to get dragged. And in saying that, a lot of younger women in my days, were experimenting.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can only imagine now.
Wow. So you probably went through the phase of Western Sydney, early 2000s to mid 2000s, late 90s maybe.
Yeah.
And I've had a few guests, and I've mentioned this many times on the podcast, where that was a very rough period of our life.
Yeah.
But the difference between then and now is that things are more accessible.
Yeah. I'd say accessible behind a screen.
Oh.
Reason being is because we actually lived our life. Like, we didn't sit behind a screen to live a life.
It's true.
Now you have people that are making their life online. So in saying that, I wouldn't say majority of the people are fake, but I'd say, yes, there is a percentage of the population that is living a fake life due to what they portray online.
And they portray a happy image, or they portray that online everything is amazing and fun, but once you turn off the screen, they're probably
They're
depressed.
sitting in their misery.
Oh, wow.
How do you get yourself to that state?
Yeah.
Comparison.
Comparing your life
Yeah.
to the life online,
Yeah.
what you see online.
Yeah. With women now, because there's a massive demand on beauty, knowledge, faith, success status, all those contribute to being the ideal woman for a man. And you've got younger women because we've kind of grown up in this fairy tale lifestyle where the Prince Charming is going to come take you off your feet
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to live happily ever after. For women, you've got women that actually spend their whole life just waiting to find the right person, settle down, and that is their life.
Mm.
If you are going to live that kind of lifestyle, who are you? And when I ask who are you, it means if you're left in a situation where you don't have this partner next to you, you don't have your children next to you, who is that version? And you really have to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself that, because in the end, we all know we're leaving alone. So you can have people that are going to help you in life, ultimately guide you and help you, inshallah, to have a successful life and a successful akhirah. But ultimately, it's you, what you believe of yourself, and that version of yourself that you wake up to every single day. On my journey, I'd say in that period, I spent a lot of time searching within myself and asking myself those questions, purely because I wanted to be the best version of me every single day. I didn't want to have a life that I was going to kind of regret and wake up to when I'm, if I have onward a later time and think, what did I do?
Wow.
What did I do in my time? So I kind of live in a dreamy lifestyle where I'm always aspiring to be that best version on the daily.
Your posts on your brand, I should say, and I mean your brand, your page, your name is your brand because
Yes.
of what you do.
Yes.
And is sometimes like it might be a simple quote that you've reshared or that you've written, and it gets me reflecting sometimes.
Does it?
Yeah, because
Good.
it's life's often about self-reflection, reflecting constantly, daily, weekly, trying to become that best version of yourself, and it's not easy.
No, it's not.
It's not.
I think I've used my brand as a way to help navigate through not only business related, but personal development as well,
MashaAllah.
which is important because both go hand in hand. A lot of people you find that are successful, that have money, they're missing the most important part of being rich, which is not money. Rich does not equal money. Rich actually makes freedom. I solely believe that, whether anyone else believes that or not.
So be able
It's
to
up to
have
them.
to ascertain a certain amount of wealth to give you freedom to do things for your hereafter and for yourself.
I'd say have enough sustenance to get you to a state where you're going to be the best version of yourself, and that gives you the freedom of actually living a life, not working for a life that is not attainable.
You took it down a different route, and that's very, very, very important. Many people have this negative perception that women in Islam unable to enter the world of business, or they're unable to achieve that success in the field of business, and whether it's corporate or not corporate. But if they just look no further to Sabrine's page, you'll see that no, women can, and they have every right to. And they can be the best versions of themselves on their personal journey, but also if they devote their time to a business, for example.
Yes. There's so many things I want to touch on, but with that note that you just brought up, I think that first and foremost for women, know that believing in yourself is honestly key. If you don't have that belief and that self-love within yourself, you're probably never going to achieve anything.
Do you find a woman that, and you can speak on this better than I can, but if a woman is constantly or has that void of believing in herself and that self-love, she feels like she may be constantly trying to be validated by everyone around her?
100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%, because most women that live a life like that are always going to be seeking the appraisal of people.
Wow.
And it won't be enough. Why? Because despite how much that person praises you, you'll still feel like they're falling short.
Wow.
Um, Also, on that note, you're going to be a people pleaser for the rest of your life because, there's things that you can do for people out of kindness, out of love,
Mm-hmm.
out of respect, especially if you want to see people grow,
Mm.
which is the avenue that I've taken through my brand. I love to see people grow through their business because me personally, part of the reason I took this journey is because there was a time in my life where I was told no on several occasions by, teachers, by mentors, by work colleagues. And when I was starting off, especially as a young woman, and I didn't have the hijab on at that time of my life. Alhamdulillah, I do now. All praise to Allah, all praise is due to Allah. Um, but at that time, it made me realize, even though with my own faith, you're still going to have people that are going to kind of dictate which path they want to put you on due to your religion.
Wow.
Um, Obviously, in my field, it's a creative field, so you're going to have a lot of competition. One of my bosses, subhanallah, and this is a touchy story, but this story kind of shaped who I am today. I was put in a position where I worked for an industry, creative industry, that I was doing work for big brands, like Revlon, Maya, David Jones, all beauty industry. So we were working on a lot of beauty brands at the time. And I was working for this company for a couple of years. And this was a full-time position that I would do over hours, everything. Like I was giving it my all, basically. SubhanAllah, before I had started, they asked me a couple of questions. One of them was, is there any requests? And I said, yes, I want to pray during work hours. That's my only request. They said, yeah, that's fine. We have a lot of people that pray here, but they were male. I was the only female Muslim working there.
Wow.
So, SubhanAllah, after a period of time, one of the bosses pulled me aside, and you can tell who they started treating me very differently towards the end. Not in a pleasant way, I'd have to say, cornering me out, putting me in situations where I didn't need to be put in. It was kind of bullying. And you start to feel it in a workplace. And I started to doubt myself because I was like, what have I done differently in this time? I've actually grown a lot more. I've given them a lot more of my time, my creativity. I wonder what they're questioning. So that was my question. And when I got pulled up, subhanAllah, it wasn't a nice conversation. So the conversation that was relayed was, Sabrine, are you taking the something out of us because you go and pray and you don't come back? I stopped for a second and I was just thinking, very bizarre, straight to the point, but I was like taken back a bit because I was like, what's he implying? That I'm here just to bludge, basically? He was using my prayer as a way to kind of pinpoint me that I'm not doing my job. I tried to get to the bottom of it and I'm like, why do you feel that way? Respectfully. He said, because when men go to pray here, they go for a few minutes, you go and take more time. What would you think, Mustafa?
I think they're singling you out because of your religion and being the only woman,
Mm.
and probably because you're a threat. Really. as well.
100%.
Like all in one, they use that probably, and that's just looking from afar from what you've just said. But you have your talents up and coming. You're Muslim. You're praying. You didn't phase you that you're the only woman in that team. And they would have taken advantage of the whole situation to just usher you out.
Pretty much. When I felt that it was an uncomfortable situation and the conversation was going nowhere, I knew to myself exactly what you said. I felt it in my heart. But I was disappointed because sometimes when you give your all in something, the person doesn't know your intention but comes back and kind of makes you out to be a different person than what you really are. And that's hard, you know? That's very hard.
Made you sound like a monster.
Yeah. For praying.
A'udhu billah.
So the question really was my religion or this job?
Wow.
And obviously for me, it was a no-brainer, my religion.
Yeah, and you sacrificed a passion. You sacrificed your career at the time.
Yeah.
And you walked away?
The next day, subhanAllah, I went home that night, sat there thinking, had a conversation with my husband, but ultimately I was going to do the decision. Like I was going to go back in the next day and have a decision because I knew where it was heading. They obviously were trying to get rid of me in an indirect way. So I went in there with my resignation letter.
Wow.
And when you want to get out of a situation, I felt this was the first lesson for me to learn. Always do it respectfully.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting point. And you, rather than burning the bridges and even though they're completely at fault, you still came out the one on top, the noble person.
And they'll have nothing to say because that's what happened. I went in there, gave my resignation letter, and that was it. That conversation never came back up. But I walked out of there happier because I had made the decision for myself that I'm choosing my religion over my job. Did I know what I was going to do next? No, but I also had a vision. And I think through that job, it taught me that, you know what, if people can do it, like, you know, go ahead, open up a company, run a team, have a business, build a brand, why can't I? That was honestly what I was questioning myself. And I think that's what led me to my next step was starting my own business.
Wow.
I didn't even think twice. I didn't even go back and find another job with someone else, another company, because I thought I deserve better.
And no pun intended, but that's the avenue you took, and also the avenue that you made as the brand. But I think the avenue came later, right?
Yeah.
So initially, it was a design and branding business that you made. I've seen you work on many logos, and you've been in the field, mashallah, for quite a while.
Yeah.
You've turned some boring logos into, mashallah, some very, very creative logos. And I'm sure you designed the Avenue logo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to.
Yeah. But how was it where you went from working a 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever it may be and giving your all to feeling rejected and not wanted, or all the reasons you just explained, to then diving right into the deep as a young woman?
Well, I was in my early 20s, so I'm not going to say it was an easy thing to do, but...
And you were married as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Newly
married, mashallah.
But I thought to myself, it's one of them things. It's either now or not never, but, you know, it was that self-belief that I talk about. So when you believe in yourself and you believe you've got something that you want to bring with purpose, with meaning, I think you'll go for it. Because a lot of times people withhold from taking that next step when they actually don't believe in themselves and they put this doubt in their mind. And that doubt ultimately leads to fear.
Wow.
And then when you go to the stage of fear, you'll just stop and not do anything.
That's when the anxiety goes through the roof. You're worrying about the unknown, worrying about what is yet to happen. I went on a little journey myself through opening up a business.
Yeah.
It was in the most difficult times of all our lives, COVID.
Yeah.
That's when it hit. But, I don't look back that it was a failure, that I stopped it and changed. I look back that it helped me overcome so many things I didn't know about myself,
Wow.
which was the points you just made.
Yeah.
But for a young woman who's newly married, just left her career, you touched on something so strong, is that you had a vision, and you advised women before that at the beginning of the pod to
Yeah.
always have a vision
Yes.
with the self-belief.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that it's a passion that you had
Yes.
with a vision and with believing in yourself throughout the process.
I think when you form an identity of the version that you want to be, which is so important, like actually envision, who am I and who do I aspire to be? That really navigates your life on the direction that you go. And when you do have that vision, that strong vision, it's almost like you've got a track that you're racing to,
It's true.
and you won't stop until you get there. So even for me, subhanAllah, there's just still so much that I aspire to do, that kind of go hand in hand with, uh, first and foremost, building something for myself, but mostly for my akhirah, because we're not promised.
Mm.
We're here for a short time. So if you're going to actually have a career with purpose that's going to help you for your akhirah. And with women, I feel a lot of people don't know what they want to do, because I work with a lot of brands. So you have people starting off doing one thing, then 2 years down the track they're doing something else, which is totally fine. But I think that comes from not knowing what you want as a person. So you're going to be in a trial stage until you actually are like, yep, that's me. That's what I want to do.
How do you know that that's what you want? Like I've tried many things as well. I even at one stage when I was young, I worked in the formwork industry, and after 4 months, I knew that's not what I want. Like in the
Yeah.
building industry, formwork, whatnot. Someone gave me an opportunity. I wanted to get out of the car game, and then I knew that was not what I want. But I did try many things in my 20s.
Yeah.
But as a woman, from a woman's lens,
Yeah.
from a woman's perspective, how is she able to navigate through all the different career paths, businesses, ideas, to trying to find what she wants, or to find something that she aspires to, that she truly loves? What can she do?
Two things. First and foremost, something that you absolutely love doing, that does not feel like a job.
Okay.
And secondly, something that you're absolutely good at. So you bring your skills to the table. When you have skills in something, it doesn't matter what part or what point of your life you're at. If you actually start from zero, those skills are going to get you to go above again.
Wow.
I'm big on that. Why? Because it's the knowledge. It's the knowledge that is power, and that is going to equip you in life. So let's say we started off with the scenario of a woman navigating her life in her early 20s. Then she gets married and has kids, right? Which is the phase that I'm at right now. When you have your children, subhanAllah, they're an absolute blessing. Inshallah, may Allah protect our children. But a part of your identity is also, I wouldn't say lost, but you're finding the next phase of your life. You can probably relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's not about you anymore. It's about you plus one, you plus two, you plus three.
That's so true.
And when, mashallah, the responsibility grows, you obviously have less time for yourself. So when that time is, shortened, you're still trying to do the things that you love, plus looking after the ones that you love.
Wow.
And it becomes hard. It becomes challenging. But one thing I learned in the process is routine. When you have a structured routine and you're an organized person, you can still achieve what you want to achieve. It just means you have to kind of sacrifice and do things that are going to make your life easy. One of the things that I personally did was designate jobs. If there was something that was weighing me down on the daily, that someone else can do for me, I designated it to them, which I'm still doing now. I'm navigating that part of my life because I feel if you don't allocate other people to do things for you, you'll never grow.
So it's not a one-man show.
No, it takes a team.
You are as strong as your team.
Yeah.
Wow. Many leaders and people in organizations, they're so skilled, but you find that they're overloaded with carrying too many tasks.
Yeah.
And they struggle to let go of the tasks, even though they're really so skilled. But it's not easy to let go of tasks and to delegate. There's like this fear that the person you're going to delegate the task to will fail, they won't do it the way you want. Maybe it's a controlling
It's the
thing.
second one. It's the second one because a lot of people feel that I've reached a stage where I've have all this experience. I'm so good at it. If I offload it, no one's not going to know how to do it the same. The key to that is communication. Because if you can communicate what you expect, you're not going to be disappointed. That person's going to understand, okay, this is what Mustafa expects. For example, I'm going to try to live up to that. And it usually comes with kindness as well.
Leading with kindness.
Yeah.
Not with the authority.
Not with authority.
Yeah.
Me personally, I hate that trait about people. If you walk into a place and they're trying to put it on someone, I've been in a lot of situations like that. Do this, like, coming down your throat, thinking that you're going to walk away, be happy. Nah, that person's going to walk away and be like probably bickering in their mind about you.
Wow.
And it also forms this communication between each other where you're not a team anymore because you're kind of just doing those tasks like robots. It's not a nice environment to be in, that you're in a workplace or wherever you are, but that's that emphasis of not being nice or just, thanking someone, manners, which is key, especially with working in a team, then people are going to walk away and not do it with sincerity.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're just there to do their job and work like a robot and go home, and they won't give it the all. They'll half work it. SubhanAllah, would you say that experience in that job that you were at, where it basically became toxicity at its finest, is that one of the things that have defined you throughout your life? Or one of the first hardest lessons that you faced?
Yeah. I think because I was put in a situation where, subhanAllah, and you get tested for a reason in life. I feel that every test that comes your way, it's going to shape you. And there's always a blessing in disguise. Really, truly. I solely believe that. Because if you're not asking yourself when you are going through this hardship, what have I done? What could I have done? What could I do to make this better? And have I made the right decision based upon my religion? You're always going to be faced with challenging situations where you're going to be doubting yourself and you're going to end up on probably a wrong path. But when there's sincerity, when there's purpose and values, those hard times are really going to shape you as a person.
Turn hard times into lessons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what challenges did you find opening up your own business at the beginning?
A lot, because when you have a vision of, making something from scratch, basically.
Wow.
You have a lot of ingredients that go into it. In brand building, the first and foremost is like that I basically tell clients. It's the core belief. It's the core value that you bring with your brand. So if you don't have a brand established upon trust and value and what you actually, the why part, then you always find the brands are very inconsistent across whatever they're doing. It's good to actually change. Like even in my industry, I've changed a lot. I started off, still in the same field, but I started off doing wedding photography events, went off to newborns, and then subhanAllah, I transitioned into this phase of my life where I kind of put both my skills hand in hand. And I always knew I wanted to do that for myself. I just didn't know how. And sometimes it takes experience, especially with brand building. The first year is not easy because it's like a baby. You've got this baby in a nest and then you're trying to make it grow. And a lot of it comes with the challenges of dealing with people.
Yeah.
And then making things work. So with the avenue, when we first opened up, it was exciting because food makes, happiness.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
at the beginning of any hospitality journey, it's the excitement phase, the honeymoon phase. Yeah.
It is. And it was something new because sushi, Japanese, there wasn't any halal restaurants at the
No.
time. You've got a lot of Italian, you've got a lot of other cuisines that are halal, alhamdulillah. But with Japanese, there wasn't any in Sydney. So I wanted to bring a fresh, innovative idea, but at the same time, still make it like with a fusion. So we introduced it, but alhamdulillah, we kept it obviously halal, no alcohol on the premises, and halal friendly for our community. So that was the goal.
I'm sure the restaurant journey on top of your existing journey had its many, many challenges and ups and downs. I believe that you probably didn't just flick your fingers and you had the avenue. It took a lot of hard work and sacrifices to get to where you are.
It takes, I think, consistency as well, and it takes believing that it's okay, even on the hard days, which everyone has. If you strongly believe in something, you'll keep making it work. Especially with my industry, I've done it over a decade now and continue
MashaAllah.
to grow, alhamdulillah. But, it makes you realize so much about when you're working, because when you are working as well, like as a female especially, you're gaining experience through the outside world. Your household is one thing, but when you're on the outside, you're dealing with, the opposite gender, for example. You're dealing with different personalities, different cultures. And it's a good thing because it makes you as well be real as a person. And I think it's a good thing, not to just close yourself up on the world and be, I'm just in my own bubble. I don't want to do anything. No, it's good to actually mix and see what the world is and what it has to offer. And it also helps you have purpose in life. So I feel like, if you have something that you look forward to on the daily, you wake up and you're actually happy about going and doing that thing.
Yeah, when you're doing something that you are passionate about,
Yeah.
it gives you that sense of purpose and urgency.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice that you'd give to all women out there, especially those who are finishing their HSC or the Year 10 certificate or at uni, in the early years of uni, navigating through life? What's a takeaway advice that if they're watching this, it'll resonate, inshallah, with them to help them in their life, just like it helped you in your life?
Never stop growing. Never stop growing. Why I say that is because growth is the sole factor of your achievements and of your happiness and of you actually identifying the version of yourself every single day. So when you are growing, it allows you to work out really what I like and what I don't like, and also help you build a sense of happiness. Yeah, because when you're happy within yourself, it really shows on the outside. And as a woman, subhanAllah, you want to at least aspire to be a sense of gratitude on the daily, that, yeah, I'm happy with the person that I look at in the mirror.
Wow. It's not easy, and you find peace in that, right?
Inner peace is everything. Inner peace is everything. Like that topic, I can talk to you about it every day.
Wow.
But I feel generally, subhanAllah, on the outside, you can look at a person and think, yeah, they're like this. You kind of build this what would you say? Facade, and you kind of make a perception about that person due to their appearance. While on the inside, you actually don't know that person.
We know in Arabic the saying لا يعلم ما في لا يعلم ما I just went blank.
That's okay.
No one knows what's in the person's heart except for Allah. It's a knowledge of the heart. علم القلوب. لا يعلم ما في القلوب إلا الله. Only Allah knows what's in one's heart.
100%.
So that's when you go and look at someone's appearance and you start to judge them, and you create this perception and preconceived idea of that person.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's in their heart.
No, you don't.
Yeah, and even if that person said something that was, slightly harsh, or in a bit of a
Or
mean
even
way,
slightly nice.
or slightly nice, yeah.
Because you got a load of people that sweet talk these days.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one or the other, you give them the benefit of the doubt and let it be. Don't overthink it because you don't know what's in their heart.
You don't, but I also feel, subhanAllah, sincerity shows. It really shows. You can even see it in someone's eyes when they're sincere, because when you have a person that's sincere in front of you, you kind of see that sorrow in their eyes. And I think because I'm behind the lens, I actually start to understand the vision.
That's a very deep outlook on it. And it goes back to your journey and what you do, being behind the lens. And I'm sure the creativity industry and it allows you to really think deep into things.
Yeah. I think subhanAllah, from young I had this thing where I do think deep, but it's not a bad thing because it ultimately teaches you about personality types, which is very fundamental to know. You don't want to be clueless in a world of ashkal or alwan.
That's true.
And it also helps you, be around the right environment, because you can have, for example, friends that are so-called friends, but you'd know through their sincerity, through their actions and where they're taking you. And most of it comes from, are they asking you the right questions? Are you going to come with me to this place, for example, that's going to lead you to hellfire? Or are you going to come with me to this place that's going to help us for our hereafter?
I went through that in my teenage years, and yeah, a lot of those friends are in jail. All their lives, they're still living that same lifestyle from being young and a teenager in their 30s.
Wow.
But then the friends that chose to take me towards the hereafter, they're married, and ones that even aren't married, that they're doing well for themselves and they're striving and focusing on this life, but for the hereafter. So we know the saying of the Prophet, as-sahib sahib, imma ila al-jannah, imma ila al-nar. The friends are of two types.
Yeah. And when you choose a path for yourself that is a disciplined lifestyle, you end up shedding a lot of friends, and you end up being in a situation where you have to say no to a lot of things. But it's a good thing because you end up appreciating the life that you've made for yourself. And ultimately, it's that dream life that you want to live for this, for this life that's going to lead you to a successful hereafter, inshallah.
That's the aim. We ask Allah to grant us success in this life and the hereafter. And I do really appreciate this podcast. I hope that everyone, and more specifically women who do watch this podcast, are inspired to be the best version of themselves.
Ameen. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on the Chronicles of Faith.
Thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
May Allah reward you.
You too.